I am in need of a haircut. I mean, Alfie Williams. And you are.
Recently shaved smooth like a baby dolphin, and Rodney McGee.
And you are listening to
Rodney and Alfie Talk Metal.
You have brought forward a very interesting topic today. I'm wholly interested. And I think right off the bat, I'm going to be your worst nightmare on this because not in a sense of like a political punching bag. It's just that with politics, unfortunately, this will be a conversation about metal and politics. I say unfortunately, it will be interesting. We will make it interesting. I'm saying unfortunately because I sit on the fence, right? My ass is aching from sitting on the fence. That's what I do, especially when it comes to big politics. So
you can explain it away as that all the time. We all know the truth, Alfie.
Viva la revolution!
Your ass aches are legendary. Where I'd actually like to start in is with a little bit of an aside. A couple of weeks back, we did a episode about does metal need more gatekeeping? And quite a few butts were hurt. And I was on the side that it does. And I just wanted to step in real quickly here and say, screw you, I was right. 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 We also talked about the recent Stranger Things Metallica thing. And I said, everybody's welcome into metal and everything, but there is a culture that we're protective of for a reason. And it's not hyper inclusive. We don't want douchebags who don't understand the entirety of what goes into being metal, that the attitude, the psychology, the culture of it. And what's happened? That we had this big welcoming, and even Metallica went out of their way to endorse, hey, we're so glad all these new fans have found us through Stranger Things. We welcome everybody, blah, blah. What's the first goddamn thing that happens? They're canceling them on TikTok because James Hetfield had a cross on his guitar. This is what happens. I warned you people. This is what happens when you let the douchebag army through the gates. This is what inclusive gets you. Okay? It is not our strength to be diverse. It is not. Okay? Tapioca mixed into the carbon to make a samurai sword does not make a better samurai sword. It matters what you add into it. Dog shit into a gumbo is diverse. It is not good, though. We don't need the pop kids, the trendy kids, the douchebags, the cancelers, the chronically upset about everybody and everything people don't belong or need to be in metal. It has been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. I said it. It became law and manifested so that you could all see it. You're welcome.
I said to you before we started recording, is this about the Metallica thing? No, you just went on for about a minute non-stop. You didn't come up for air.
No, the main topic isn't about Metallica.
All right. I get it. No, I'm joking. Jokes aside, no, I understand. Yeah, that whole Metallica getting cancelled thing, my buddy showed me it, and I'll admit I had an emotional response. Not in a similar vein of yours, but I had some response where, yeah, I felt a bit let down, especially after all of this positive news about Metallica showing up in the younger generation. And it does make you a bit more conservative, low-C conservative, like pulling your identity closer to you, saying, well, if you're going to act this way, I'm not going to share, and taking your ball home kind of thing. I get that.
I don't think it's that. It's not that we're not willing to share. It's just you don't get welcomed. Everybody's like, we'll share with anybody. But if you give off the wrong smell, nah. There's none of this, well, how come I was rejected by the metal community? Because you're a douchebag that cancels people. You're not going to be welcomed here. We're not going to pander to you like pop or, commercial hip hop or something where it's like they want as many people in as possible, sell as many tickets as possible. No, we're more selective than that. And it's because of people like this. They ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, it left a bad taste in my mouth too. I am happy to say, not. I don't think there's been any recourse because of that. And this is difficult because now you have to. Do you ignore it, or do you have to lean and go, okay, fine, show me what the hell you're talking about?
No,
and
never apologize ever.
No,
Ever.
no, don't. I wouldn't say apologize for the past, and that's sort of a rabbit hole of basically it was the way it was at the time. And
I don't do that one either. No. Just no. Shut up. Go away. You are garbage. I don't owe you anything. My life was not built around how you were going to view it one day, you miscreant little turd. No. You give these people no ground, no sympathy, no empathy, no time, no attention. You brush them off like you would dandruff off a sleeve, and you keep moving. Not a word. All you do by saying anything is validate them and make their absolute vomiting have some validity. You have no validity. You're a belligerent fat little child who gets off by pissing all over people on the internet. And I don't have to explain anything to someone like that. I don't owe you it. And that's why we close ranks. You are not welcome here. Period. You can only cancel someone who cares. You can only cancel it if the people who are around that person are douchebags who care. Oh my God, I can't believe, even though we've been friends for 40 years, that, he said this thing and now I have to hide because I don't want to get canceled too. No, that's not who we are. Fuck you. Okay? That's it. Done. That's metal. That you are out of your turf here. You don't understand how this works. So you shouldn't have been here to begin with. And again, we can go back to the main topic, but that was, I feel utterly vindicated. It was the biggest slap of instant karma I've ever seen in my life. It's like all the people were like, no, you want to get as many people in. Metal should be for everybody. It's not for everybody. Especially not
Clearly,
those pieces. No. Yeah. They're even telling you it's not for everybody. Not even them.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Shut up. Drown in a toilet. Just no. Goodbye.
I just want to pick up. We will move on to the other points of topic. I just do want to go back to what you mentioned about vindication. I agree. This is that's the conclusion I came to after I thought about it. This isn't worth my time even considering. And I even looked at the Metallica subreddit to see if there was any hubbub. Nothing. They're like, fuck it. Who cares? Literally nothing. Like, don't give this person attention. And there are some points, if you took today's lenses and look back, you would say, oh, that's a bit weird. But unfortunately,
today's lenses suck.
I know. And that's why today's lenses are irrelevant looking backwards. It's pointless. But what I do want to just throw into maybe the thin end of the wedge. I was watching the behind the scenes of Metallica on tour for the Black Album. It's like a 2-hour long documentary of them and that kind of thing. And you can see the hazing they give to Jason Newsted and, the rough and tumble stuff. The thin end of the wedge is that they're bullying him. And it's that kind of behavior of toxic masculinity. It's a hostile environment where you need to prove your place. And if you're not hard enough, it will be toxic because you're going to break down and say, they're bullying me. But Jason rose up to it. It's like, nope, I'm here to do business. I'm going to be the best, and rose to that challenge. So what I'm saying is, if you're not, what's the right word for that? If you're not, you probably do something with metal to harden it. If you're not calloused enough, you will not fit into this culture or this environment of music.
Exactly.
And there are maybe back in the thrash days specifically, there was rough and tumble male play. They were not fighting, but moshing around as they do now, letting off steam, very physical, very aggressive. I wouldn't say negative. It's just letting off steam, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's also that thing of recognizing, you know, it's like any hierarchy that you get into. It's you have to prove that you're not going to fall apart the second anything bad happens, that the people next to you can count on you. It's like, you know, being in a foxhole. It's like you don't want the guy who starts crying every time a bullet goes off. So they're going to haze you a few times and scare you a few times to see how you react. And you know, that's the problem. And, you know, this goes back into my whole thing about the culture of metal changing. You can go, now we're going to reference a ton of other episodes, and about why metal isn't the same anymore. It's because it's being made by human veal. You know, we're trying to get aggressive, tough music made by people who
aren't.
Just are human, just burn victims. I mean, just everything's an owie. Oh, well, that's it. Yeah. Why wouldn't I believe that your ferocious death metal album has anything behind it? It's all crap and overcompensation, and people can smell it. And you can't sit there and, you know, be on TikTok canceling people and then act like you have any credibility as a ferocious, aggressive, and don't give a fuck artist. Those two do not match.
No.
So, yeah, I was right. I was right. I was right. I was right. I was right.
I was just about to say, we've gone from your I was right and not actually mention what the topic was. We're talking about politics in metal.
Yes. So
I'm feeling better.
Well,
are you? Did you get that off your chest?
I'll never get it off my chest, Alfie. No, that's fine. Just thought, especially timely, and that point out that, you know, things that you and I have discussed and been talking about over the course of, you know, multiple episodes just absolutely got laid out on the table. And I was, you know, and also because, you know, being the more vitriolic, I get some of the, oh, come on, man. No, you come on, man. You just saw it, Joe Biden. It just got crammed right down your throat. I was right. That's why you just subscribe, listen to what I say, and follow the teachings. In any case.
What other bands did you have in mind that, I guess, well, you asked me earlier, does politics belong in metal? And I think my answer is kind of no. However, there's always been a really strong link between politics and music. Punk. That's what I can think of. Well, punk is primarily the one. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. I'm sure there has been loads of other, you know, ballads. What's his name? Born Living in the USA. Wasn't that a politics song?
Springsteen.
Yeah. Right. So it's not just punk and metal. What do you think? Does politics belong in metal, generally speaking?
Generally, yes. And I think it's interesting that you use that word, because the more I thought about it, I thought, why does it seem actually that some bands get away, you know, talk about politics or things consistently and get no grief for it whatsoever, and then some bands just light people's hair on fire? And I pretty quickly realized a delineation. If you look back, I mean, politics and metal, or at least social statements or things, go all the way back to the foundings. You've got War Pigs from Black Sabbath. You've got Metallica with them talking about, you know, environmentalism, nuclear warfare. You've got
Master of Puppets, Justice for All. It's all, you know, war and politics.
Yeah. And, you know, Megadeth, a lot of the same things, talking about military things, stuff like that. And then you come across a band like, Rage on Behalf of the Machine or something. And it's like, why are people so more divided with a band like that than they are with the others when they've made statements as well? And I think it's funny, but there's a very thin line, and one is almost crucial to metal, and the other is really problematic. When you listen to War Pigs or Master of Puppets or something like that, the themes are very general.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going after a political party or a specific person or an ideology. It's kind of, when you get down to it, it's kind of simplistic ideas. It's, war bad, nature good.
Right.
That type of thing. Just a lot of times done in more graphic or aggressive terms. You could even take a band like Gojira, who go on about environmentalism all the time, stuff like that. And, they're not directly hacking at somebody. So even people who may not agree with, groups like Greenpeace, who they support and stuff like that, go kind of like, I'm going to give them a pass, and they're a good band. When you get, to me, the line is when you start pushing an ideology, when you start making direct, specific political statements, and basically when you become an activist, is because then your music is seen as a vehicle,
right,
for you to spew political propaganda. It's not, I'm making great metal and these are the things that are on my mind and concern me, and I think we can all get behind this type of thing. Then it is, I'm pushing this thing. I want you to believe this thing. I'm attacking specifically a group you may belong to. When it becomes that type of targeted thing. And that's why I think that one is, kind of fair play, and the other is where people really start getting their, bowels in an uproar, as it were, and start flipping out about it. Does that seem like it kind of rings right with you?
Yeah, I think so. I think what you've boiled it down to is if you're not that this is a bad thing, but if you start to feel challenged, you might think, hang on a minute, this isn't the right time or place to challenge me. I want to enjoy your music. I want to be part of something. And then you have to start wondering, do I belong here? And, everything can start getting a bit complicated from there. And also you can just enjoy the music without caring for the meaning. Like a very obvious example is music in other languages. You can appreciate the music for what it sounds like. You don't have to understand the lyrical content or the meaning behind it. But yeah,
I think it's all also too, though, that one is a broad statement that, it's like, you're pretty hard pressed not to get behind it to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
When you make specific statements, inevitably you're making an attack on somebody.
Yes. Well, that's the purpose, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, one isn't an attack on anybody. It's saying we all need to reject this thing.
It's a warning, that one.
Yeah. And the other half, when it becomes, activist, is if you are a member of this or support this, you are my enemy.
Right.
And I'm basically making a 4-minute audio propaganda piece against you. And it's like, that's a tough road to hoe. Hard to enjoy that one.
Can I just say, though, harking back to our first segment, if you don't like it, you don't need to join it. That's exactly what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Is it not? So taking Rage Against the Machine, I would imagine you don't care for their politics, to put very mildly. No, I thought not. So I don't know.
I just have this weird thing, and it's probably just me, but when people are apologists or celebrate the symbols associated with the leaders of mass genocide, I just start to go, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't hang up a swastika, but I also wouldn't be putting up the hammer and sickle in my
No.
thing. I wouldn't have a poster of Lenin in my rehearsal room. I wouldn't wear a shirt with Che Guevara, who used to murder gay people and burn books. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, I'm weird like that. It's just one of my little things.
But does that mean you discount their music? Forget the message, but would you? But you know, Tim Comerford is a pretty solid bass player. Tom Morello is an innovator in the way he plays guitar. Do you knock them off just for that? I mean, message aside, like as musicians, forget their voice. What they play is what I'm paying attention to.
But here's where I feel that's the problem: is they render that irrelevant. Is
you think it really undoes everything?
For me, it does, because it doesn't matter how good you are if I can't listen to you. If I'm sitting here listening to stuff where I hear you openly celebrating shit like that, click, that goes off. There are some boundaries I will not cross. And the same one would be like, I'm not going to go listen to a bunch of bluegrass songs at a white supremacist rally. I'm never going to hear if you're the best banjo player on the face of the planet, where you're not getting me in the door.
No.
So, it's like I'm not pushing them out. They're self-selecting me out.
They are. They're
agree. Telling me in their lyrics, we don't like or agree with you and want to push this on you. And it's like, okay, I don't care if you just wrote the next Stairway to Heaven or what the hell it is. I'm not listening to it. It's just a vehicle for your crap. So, yeah, they do it to themselves.
I don't disagree. But I'm finding it difficult to just like, now I feel like I'm part of it. Basically, I was going to say, I just want to sit there and go, okay, yeah, you have your moment, have your little revolution on stage. That's fine. I'm here to enjoy your songs. But if I participate, that is not emboldening, but it's a vote of support. I support your message by being there, by buying your album, which isn't the intention, of course, but you can't choose the intention.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that I'm uncommon this way. A lot of times, most people, I find them to be very low in the bar that they'll set for themselves as far as, where they think integrity starts. But I'm just at that thing. It's like, if you're doing news coverage, I think is slanted and disgusting, or if you're making movies I think are propaganda, or songs that I think are glorifying absolutely abhorrent ideologies or things, I don't need that brain poison in my head. So great, go be a great guitar player. I'm sure you're not the last one. I have plenty others to select from. There is a absolute ocean of, other artists out there that can take my time and especially my money. And I got nothing for you. And especially when, much like many of the types like that, they turn out to be complete frauds and hypocrites. When you're supposed to be this great, communist revolutionary down with the people thing, but you try and destroy somebody on Twitter because their restaurant was sold out and they wouldn't let you in. Don't they know you're Tom Morello?
What? I haven't had that story.
Look that one up. That's a cute one. Morello showed up at some restaurant after a gig or something like that and was told at the front, we literally have no tables. So instead of going, oh, well, this business is full, and respecting the people there, he starts throwing his weight around and then gets on Twitter and starts saying, well, I guess this restaurant doesn't give a damn about who gets in, like throwing a spoiled rich boy little tantrum, which he is, grew up with money, went to Harvard Law.
Always
those jackasses that are calling for the Great Revolution.
Didn't he work in the White House?
Oh God, I hope not, but it would explain so much.
He was a PA to a representative.
Yeah. Because you can afford to do that when you're poor. you know, except like basically no money as an intern. Funny he wasn't demanding minimum wage laws back then. But you know, all my personal politics aside, it's like, you know, I'm also very suspicious of that type of stuff. Is when somebody goes from making maybe a political statement. I mean, I have some politically lean statements in the Voice of Dissent album, things like that. They're not as overt, and they're working more off of principle. But excuse me, when you're doing things like that and actively making attacks specifically at people, then that's when it's like, I think it turns less from being, because here, that this is always the conversation I hear online is, you know, this doesn't belong in music or politics should stay out. I don't think it's necessarily that when a person says that. What they're saying is you're starting now to push propaganda rather than talk about ideas or putting out things that you're sympathetic to or feel. It's become, you know, this whole just thing of like, now I have to look at everything you do with a stink eye and suspicion.
Yeah.
And it's also crap. You know, well, here, let's knowing, you know, already my slant on things a bit, let's take it in two ways. If, say, someone put out an album that talked about, like, they felt that the average worker was getting screwed and, you know, blue collar got to come up and stay strong and stuff, I'd probably be like, well, I can kind of agree with that sentiment. You know, things are tough, wealth divide. I get that. And I'm good with it. If you do that and then you slap like the symbol of the USSR on the front of your album, and now I know it's coming from a perspective of the proletariat uprising and shit. Nope. Nope. Now we're in this room. It's like you've gone into pushing ideology. And I'm like, nah, that's when I'm out. And I think that's what most people mean, is that we're willing to listen to thoughts and ideas and things. We don't want your specific activism shoved down our throats if you want us to listen to your music. And yeah, there's, for other reasons besides political, maybe I've met them or something like that, there's a number of artists that I have to kind of remove the artist from the art to listen to them. I know some real pieces of crap that I listen to their music and I think they're just terrible people. But I can sit there and go like, all right, well, you know, I can listen to this song and, you know, whatever, because I'm not having to hear their piece of crap stuff right there. Just a second. Man. But yeah, so that to me seems like where the big divider is people don't mind hearing things in general terms or overall ideas. They don't want something to turn into just straight propaganda fed into them. I think like another version of it where, and you risk too much coming across as well. And this is almost outside of the politic, but it's this holier than thou, self-absorbed narcissist douchebag. You know, I'm going to make these big pronouncements. You play a guitar. What the fuck do you have to say about any of this? I mean, did I miss the part where you spent like 20 years in Parliament? What, you know, what I'm supposed to now have to endure this crap because you decided to lay it on top of a song? A great one being the recent, what was it, the Billy Joe Armstrong thing of him doing the concert in London and then saying he's giving up his U.S. citizenship. He's so disgusted about this country. And I'm like, I've heard that 1,000 times and they never do it.
Oh, no, of course not.
They never leave. They
No.
never go. It never happens.
No.
So again, it just makes you look like this publicity, virtue signaling narcissist. And it's not even about the politic. It's like, oh, you douchebag. You know, you're going to get up in the front of this big crowd and, oh, I'm taking a stand and I'm not going to go back. Which, by the way, Billy, we're good. We're good. Haven't really noticed. You just hang out, do your thing. We're good. I'm sure whatever donut shop you were hanging out at the morning will, you know, be crushed by your absence. But really, just go be happy, man. That type of thing. And I think that gets to the root of it too, is it smells so deeply of me over you. I'm so smart and informed, and I have to tell these stupid plebes listening to my music, this is, you know, how I vote and how I think, and, you know, you're a piece of crap if you don't fall in line. Dude, fuck off.
That's the worrying thing, that not only the ego, the narcissism, and all of that goes without saying, but the fact that, you know, you will just be another person in Stalin's chambers. Like, once you kill the next top person, I'll step up, I'll do it. That's the person I'm worried of. The person that goes, yeah, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, it's always that thing of the person that says, I don't want to do it, should be the leader. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's something that I would be not worried of, but skeptical of and concerned of.
But it doesn't even have to go that deep, because it doesn't with them. Low on the oxygen.
Need to do hits like Axl Rose.
Dude, I do. But genuinely, it doesn't go any deeper with them. And that's the most disgusting part of it. These aren't like super soldiers for some great revolution or something. And that's how it comes across to the fans. It's like, you're just saying something to aggrandize yourself. It's always, you know, the big political speech at your show, or this happened in politics and I have to make my statement about it. No, you don't. No. Everybody on the internet is doing the same thing. Stop it. And I get that that's why so many people bristle at that. And I think that's what people mean usually when they say they should leave politics out of music. It's not really overarching political ideas. It's leaving these narcissistic, listen to me, I'm pulling out my soapbox and preaching to you type of garbage missives that half the time it's like, I cringe when it's somebody whose politics I agree with and they do this stuff. I'm just like, oh man. Because at least for me, it always makes me wonder if they actually mean it.
Of course I understand where you're coming from. You're worried about people. Well, so let me rephrase that. Generally speaking, you don't want people to. Let me start again. You don't want to be preached at by someone who thinks they're better than you. Nobody does. I do think, generally speaking, most people would be somewhere in the center and are indifferent. They couldn't care less. And the message will probably be lost on them. There's, I don't even know if it's such a thing, but a political IQ. Like, they don't know where Rwanda is. They don't really care about Burma. That's not, you know, on the top of their to-do list. So that could be lost on them, and then they're just enjoying the music. My other point was, on the flip side, if you imagine, right, again, we're picking on Rage Against the Machine. If you imagine really young Rage Against the Machine fans, they start putting on a beret, they start wearing their own Che Guevara shirts and all the fists, all that kind of thing. They get into politics and they learn about politics, generally speaking. They might find that actually this is wrong, and a different political idea or aspect is better. So what I'm saying is, at least if you take the best side of Rage Against the Machine, they're giving you an alternative vision to your parents, which is what we talk about with metal. We want to be different than our parents. We want to literally rage against the machine. So in a sense, they're giving young people the vehicle to do that. Is that not useful?
But that isn't. It's replacing one ideology you disagree with another one. Free thinking.
But that's what I'm trying to get to.
But that's the thing. You're not free thinking if they go, don't do this, do this. Like you've just been handed something else. Here's an analogy, I think, because people really get their heads messed up when they talk about politics. I think if you move this into something that's very closely related, most people would probably kind of go, yeah. Christian music. If you were listening to a song and it's going along, I can guarantee you so many of the people who are like, yeah, you should have politics and music, but all this type of stuff. You get to the chorus and they start talking, thank you, Jesus, and all this stuff. They would whip that dial on that, that stereo so fast and just be like, oh, listen to this crap. And they would be completely turned off by it. I know people that rag on that stuff all the time. So even by most people's standards outside of politics, there is a thing where it's like, don't shove your specific ideology at me. I'm not interested in this. And just, loving the song. And then as soon as you get to the, Christ is my savior part, all of a sudden they start flipping out. It's the same thing with most people and overarching political statements. They just go, I don't want this. It's like, yeah, you may have made, like you were saying, with the musicianship and everything else, this incredible, amazing German chocolate cake that is just the best thing. And I can't wait to take a slice. But then you walked over and you took a dump on top of it. And now you go, well, how come you could just scrape it off, can't you? Or you could just, no, I'm done. Don't care how good the cake is. That dump wrecked it for me.
What's your take on, I kind of want to tackle this in a different direction. What I'm saying is, if you have music that basically challenges you, would you not think about it for a minute? You don't have to agree with it. I'm just saying, would you consider it?
Sure. I mean, I'll listen to it. Like I have to get to a song once to understand what it is.
Sure. Yeah.
But if I get by, through to the end and I'm like, oh, you guys are pieces of shit.
Well, you've made your judgment. Yeah.
Yeah. This is it. And that's part of the problem is you've taken me out of listening to your music now. The only important component becomes the shit coming out of your mouth and whether I can stomach it and whether I want to hear this repeatedly. So you've only done yourself damage. You can say there's always going to be anomalies like, the, what do you call it? The prominence of a band like Rage or something like that. They found a musical formula that worked for them and everything. But you also can't say that their audience isn't severely limited or they don't have a lot of detractors and haters because of that. Now, I don't want to just focus on something and make this a thing about,
no, that's unfair.
Specific politics or something. So look at people on the other side of things. Let's take like Ted Nugent. He's divisive as hell. He's on the complete other side, conservative, right wing, says really acerbic things. He doesn't put a lot of it in his music, but he's always running his mouth. And it has cost him a ton of fans. He has new fans that may like his radio thing and stuff, but musically, I know a lot of people that are like, I just can't listen to the dude anymore. Like he's just this asshole. So, it does kind of kick people in the head that way. And again, I don't want this to get into too like, how do I feel about it? Or how do you feel about it? We're
No.
talking about, does it belong there? And I want to make sure we're examining from a 30,000 foot view, you know, why do people bristle, but only at certain things? You know, and again, so we have like Black Sabbath, Metallica, Megadeth, no kickback for the lyrics. Rage Against the Machine, bands like that, big kickback on the lyrics. Ted Nugent, not metal, but, you know, just a quick one for the right side. You could even take bands like Five Finger Death Punch, that because they have that very like Midwest America pro country type of thing, they get shit on all the time for it. They're not obviously as radical, but, you know,
opinionated.
Yeah. Why do people make fun of country music so much? Because a lot of it's pro-country and nationalist. They're like, I listen to these rednecks talk about how badass America is and everything. If you hate this country or you're, you know, not into that, you can't listen to an entire style of music that always will have that lyric in it somewhere. So saying, well, you know, separating art from the artist, you can to a certain extent, but it's going to break down at a certain point. So when I, especially in metal circles, like I said, I hear this debate a lot. And this is what I feel like it comes down to me, is we're willing to listen to ideas and probably agree with them. What we don't want is political grandstanding, virtue signaling, narcissistic speeches at your concerts and bullshit, or specific political stances and ideologies, especially ones that target other people. That they're just like, I don't need this divisive shit.
Making it a bit more general, it almost feels like there are certain, I don't really know the best way to put it, groups of policies, let's just say, that have a certain audio soundtrack to them. Rage Against the Machine. Again, I can't think of any other leftist bands because I don't listen to them, so I don't know. So Rage.
All of them.
But like they're a soundtrack, you know, you go to a Greenpeace thing and fuck you, I won't do what you tell me, right? It's the soundtrack. And I don't really know what the other side listen to because I won't be there either. I don't know. So it just goes back to tribalism, that we're a tribe. We need to know what our song is. So there's kind of that going on. Maybe it's chicken and egg that just keeps going around. We need songs and we need to tell our stories. And that's kind of, we have soundtracks for romantic comedies, action films, and sci-fi. Politics is no different. It needs a soundtrack.
Okay. Then understand that your soundtrack songs only reach as far as the end of your politic.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to watch a rom-com if I can help it. So that,
you know what I'm saying?
works.
Like, if you're sitting here going, well, this political movement needs this soundtrack. Okay, well, then realize that only people who utterly agree with that are going to listen to that shit. And that you're going to put off a lot more people. If you're kind of radical and you're into that, great. But I feel like I said, my kind of thesis for this one being, why do people make the statement sometimes, politics don't belong in metal? And I don't think it's politics. I think it's activism, and it's basically propagandist or that kind of narcissism of, you should listen to me because I bought a guitar.
I was going to say ego. That's a good one to include.
It's like, why is your opinion any better than some guy working at a machine shop in the middle of Idaho or something? You've done nothing. You play guitar, and that it's like somebody's gone over the hill. And at that point, it's almost like, I'm not even sure if it would matter if it were even politics that they were spewing about. It's just like, dude, don't preach to me.
No.
You know, and you can always see that thing with metal having that problem with being preached. Early on, there was, you know, a lot of heavy anti-Christian messages, things like that. But very much this thing of, you know, don't tell me what to do. So it doesn't matter your politics slant. It doesn't matter your religion slant, anything. It's don't tell me what to do. Tell me to be aggressive and free and kick ass, not get in line with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, that's not metal. It's not entertaining. It's not fun. And I'm not going to go out with my friends and bang around and stuff and listen to somebody trying to, draft me into the Laotian army or something. No, thanks.
As always, I'm trying to find the opposite side or middle ground here. I feel like you and I are mostly on the same page in terms of, I kind of want to say, for lack of a better term, I don't know if this exists, so correct me if I'm wrong, political IQ. I mentioned it earlier. Like you have an awareness and critical thinking skills to understand when you're being preached at or what is propaganda most of the time. As a result, you and I are free spirits, individual. We like to do what we want to do, like you just said. There are some people who don't have that political IQ or critical thinking. Therefore, they want to run around in groups. And radicalized is a very strong word, but they get indoctrinated in certain ideas. And it just feels self-perpetuating. If they're in these circles, they do these things. And I don't know, is it, are you and I offended because we're feeling that our critical thinking skills are not, we're being challenged and then they're treating us like idiots, basically?
I don't feel that way. Again, it's just that thing of like, don't preach at me. That's annoying. It's that same feeling of, again, I think that goes down, like we're almost by focusing on the politic, we're missing some of the point. It's like, it's the same reason why when religious fundamentalists come to your door, you're like, oh, and you just don't want to hear it.
No.
It's like, don't invade my life and try and, pull your shit on me. Why do you feel you're entitled to do this? It's like, I'm trying to enjoy my day. I'm trying to do my thing. And here you come with your crap. And like I said, it's funny that I feel like a lot of people would find a lot of excuses for politics, see it much clearly when you move it to religious type of things. They're like, yeah, okay, you got a point there. If Tom Morello were chasing you down the sidewalk with you, have you heard the good word of Jehovah's Witness? It'd be like, oh, dude, So that'd be a completely different story there. But yeah, I mean, it's really what I think it comes down to is I was just really interested that I see a lot of arguments, a lot on the Rage threads, but on other bands and Five Finger Death Punch, or, I'll see something for like Aaron Lewis of Stained or something like that. Again, not metal, but just pulling out some more right-wing things and people posting about it. And they all just kind of, they seem to piss on it way more than Metallica puts out a song that, has a social message to it or something, and nobody says anything. And it's like, well, why are these other people getting heat? It's because they are specifically taking a point and then going, you should do this. And there's a difference between talking about an idea and preaching.
Yes. Well, yeah, one is opt-in and one is being given to you.
Yeah, it's forceful. And that I'll be flat out, like I said, honest. When Rage first came out, I remember, Killing in the Name of first coming on. I thought it was kind of odd. It was okay. Later on, when I got their first album, there were a lot of songs I liked on it. I was a big fan of Evil Empire. And mostly it was, I had things on in the background. But after I started looking into the lyrics more deeply, I, paid attention to it. I especially started looking at the symbology, things on Morello's guitar, on their album covers and stuff. I was like, nope. Yeah, like it was all wiped off for me. I was just like, I I feel like it's a guy in a rape van, luring me in with a candy bar. It's just, no, nope, not getting in. So for me, that's one of those bands that like, I almost feel sometimes like I wouldn't mind hearing it, but I'm just like, I can't do it. Like I'm going to get one verse into this thing and just go, you pieces of shit, and just turn it off. Like I can't get past it. And especially when, flat out say it, Morello is a con artist. It's everything about him is fake as shit. And that to me makes it even worse. Like you preach the things you do and you're a fraud.
There is something.
Can't do it.
Do you want to beat on Morello for a little bit? Or do you want me to?
You can do that all day.
Sure. All right. I'll read him my what's it? Tuppence. My tuppence. That's 2 pennies. He does contradict himself, but would you expect someone to? It seems a little bit unfair to say to him, listen, this is your lifestyle. You need to live like that, when he's literally using the machine for his own purposes, because you're not going to win. I say, okay, just take it up. I'm trying to be indifferent. You're laughing at me. I'm just trying to make a point. I don't care. I'm not a communist. I don't have any flags. If you're trying to change the system, you have to. Why are you laughing at me? Then you have to use what's in front of you, the rules in front of you. No, go on.
No.
Well, he ain't going to do it by having an insurrection, is he?
Oh, well, Donald Trump is having one. Don't everybody get up in a thing. I don't have a political point on that one. Just saying. No, it's you cannot sit there and say this thing is fundamentally evil and should be destroyed, and then in the same breath go, but I'm going to squeeze it for every advantage and use it like the people I say are the worst ones in the world. And I'm going to use it just like them to make myself wealthy, powerful, and influential. And that's fine. No. Bullshit. And it's like, I heard this crap the first time when they tried to explain away signing with Sony, which at the time was...
That was a big deal, yeah.
Yeah, the largest mega company. Well, this is how we get our message out, blah, blah, blah. Dude, the internet is now. You guys could crowdfund this to no end. Get off the label. Oh, if it was so necessary then, why is it necessary now? Again, it's just everything about it is fraudulent. It's that narcissism. On Sunset Boulevard, the main Guitar Center that was down there, I used to drive by it every day and have to look at his face on a giant picture on the front of that building next to all the fluffy rock stars that he of course hated. Right. And a picture of him holding his guitar. It had to be 20 feet tall. And him posing in front of his big shiny chrome tour bus. Really, Tom? Got your signature guitar in front of your environmentally destroying sign of, abject wealth tour bus pinned on the side of the largest mass corporate seller of musical instruments on the planet. You are on the Walmart of guitars out here with your picture, and you smiled like a little bitch for that photo, didn't you? Look at my tour bus. I'm going to be on Guitar Center. That corporation didn't bother you. We're talking about a company who had ties to Mitt Romney and Bain Capital, who were buying out companies and just tearing them to shreds and destroying the futures of half the people that worked for him and stuff. Tom's happy to smile and give you the thumbs up from the front of it, though. Look at that tour bus. Man, that chrome shines. Fraud. And it just, yeah. One of the just most disgusting grifters I've ever seen in my life.
I just have
could
to
go on
laugh at
for
his.
days.
I mean, yeah, that's part of it. I don't really look at the details as much as you do. I know about his signature wah pedal, which is literally just your normal wah pedal with his color on it. Didn't even fucking change it. There's nothing different. It's just Tom flavored.
It's never different. They're all the same douchebag.
I'm sure they had a message when they started, but let's face it, the money felt good.
Even you can put out a message, though. It doesn't mean you have to believe it, though. I mean, you can. There's a big difference between actually being edgy and getting that edgy pose. You know, like I said, you were so edgy that, you know, you grew up with wealth and have done nothing to, you know, exorcise the demons of all those filthy dollars. And it just comes down to, you know, fundamental things like, well, okay. This is going off the rail. Like I said, I didn't want to get into specific politics.
No, we need to keep backing up, don't we?
just to throw out what a con artist I think this is. Two perfect examples. There's a guy on YouTube called Hate56, and he films videos of hardcore bands, some thrash, and does, you know, really good quality, really good audio type of stuff. And he does it at no charge. His symbol is a hammer and sickle. Again, I'm not a communist fan, not into it, but that guy is doing what the fuck he said. I'm not charging people who don't have money for my services when I say I believe in the art and the non-commercialism because of my ideals. Can Tom tell me why tickets are being charged at their shows? And why they cost so much? And the parking fees? And the last time when they were out doing the shows in California, when they did their first reunion, why was there a fence up? I thought he doesn't seem to like one at our border. But he's perfectly happy to have one outside the show to make sure your ass doesn't get to hear a single waka 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 note out of him without coughing up some of that filthy American capitalism he loves to preach against.
Nothing against that. I can't say anything to that. No.
So literally one guy, again, I despise your ideals, but you live them. I will argue your ideals, but you stand behind what you do. So I've never, ever bought this bullshit from these bands who preach this type of stuff and then don't live it. It's like the absolute, like, what other point is there in your stuff than to live it? You're saying you want a whole planet based on people following an ideology, and then you practice none of it. In fact, you practice the exact ideals of the people you say are the most evil. You are a con artiste. That is where your great art is. It's not in your bullshit pedal. It's not in your music. It's not in any of your stuff. Your true art is being a con. And yeah, suck it, Tom.
Good grief. All right, let's try and grab a hold of this wild Mustang right now.
Oh, it's gone. It's gone. I am riding the Tom horse off into the sunset.
Zooming out a little bit. Again, one of us is trying really hard. That's not true. Neither of us are trying really hard to keep it on an objective level. I feel like I said, the answer is, for me, no, I don't think it should be, but I think it's hard to escape it. And as you retorted a word, as you have replied and responded, It could be artificially inseminated into our music. But I do like what you said about you can choose to remove yourself, and that goes back to what we started with. We have our own club, we have our own culture, we look after our own, and it ties back to exactly what you said, that we look out for each other. And that isn't a political statement. Forget Metallica. Metal isn't a political statement. It's a way of life. It's, pick someone up if they fall down in the mosh pit. That's not political. That's just common decency, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think basically my end statement on it is that metal is about freedom. So I'm never going to say politics don't belong in metal. I think it's an extraordinarily bad idea. Again, ideas like War Pigs and, Metallica lyrics, that's one thing. I should probably reframe it and say, I don't have a problem with politics, but when you get into activism,
yes,
when you get into specifically targeting political enemies, divisive statements against other groups, things like that, do your thing. But I think it costs you and it limits you. And, it's a dangerous slot machine to pull. And I can understand and sympathize with people who go, I just can't listen to them. They're just, I don't want to hear that shit. Again, if you find something, an idea completely abhorrent, having to listen to it said to you over and over again, just not something you're going to be able to stomach.
No, of course not.
So at the end of the day, sure, roll the dice with it, but you're observing less of a metal community, and you're trying to make yet another little splinter group for yourself.
Mm.
And two, yeah, I don't think it's the best way to pull things in if you're looking for an audience. And three, get over yourself. Again, that's kind of that thing of like, I'm so sick of Hollywood and actors and musicians always having something to fucking say. Shut up. You're a clown. Entertain us, clown. This is not what we hired you for. This is not what you pretended to be. I bought this because I wanted to be entertained and maybe challenged a bit by some of your music and maybe a cool idea here and there lyrically. I did not ask for a fucking stump speech from, the Republican National Convention or said, like, shut the fuck up. You don't know anything. It's that forced bully pulpit. And that's why I feel that most people, when they say it, because I see basically the posts I see go back and forth. Somebody says, I'm sick of politics and metal, blah, blah, blah. And somebody goes, politics have always been in metal, blah, blah. And they go back to like Black Sabbath and stuff, but they don't make that delineation. They're like, yeah, the politics have been there, but they weren't being used as active propaganda for current political schemes. And when you start preaching at people, that's when it becomes different.
Just think about like when the Nazis declared war on everybody. If there was a band saying there's this terrible group called the Nazis in Germany, they're bad, does that not work? Or are we still going to poke holes and say, yeah, but?
Sure. I mean, go ahead and do your thing. But like I said, it's why. My thing is, why do we feel that musicians are solely responsible for this? Oh, well, we had to put out this song so people knew Nazis were bad. Really? How about talking to a Jewish immigrant? Or, how about listening to your political leaders or a radio broadcast or a political debate or, I don't know, every goddamn person and conversation going on every day? That could do it. Why is this your lyric thing?
Because music has always been about storytelling, and it's the stories you believe, you want, you hope for, you dream of is stories.
Oh, see, that's going to go down a bad road too, though. Yeah, it's about stories. Sake. But, look at the propaganda that's being spewed out in most movies anymore. You're not telling me a story. You're using this as a vehicle to put your ideology into my fucking head. I don't need another Hollywood movie that starts out with, oh, I'm going to go see Doctor Strange or something like that. And then by the end of it, I'm sitting here going, wow, I really should reconsider the Bolshevik Revolution. No, it's these people are, Hollywood should arguably be the foundation of our storytelling. It's what they have been.
Yeah.
And they are literal, barely any better than propaganda outlets at this point, pushing constant messaging. You can't get through anything without getting beat over the head with like 900 goddamn, the messages that just have to be put into it. I can't tell you how many times I sit here anymore and I'll watch Netflix or something. I'll get 4 episodes into a series and I can't watch it anymore because it's the same series I watched 10 minutes ago, but just with supposedly a different plot. But it's this person from this group attacked this person from this group and had a relationship with that person from that group. And it's the same story. And it's like, you're not telling me stories.
Mm-hmm.
You're feeding me agenda and propaganda. And I think people know it when they smell it and they're sick to death of it. And again, I go back to the same point. It's not about politics being in metal. It's about activism and self-aggrandizing, Christ figures that think they're going to save the world because they wrote a song called Hitler People Bad. Ridiculous. Yeah, you can go as extreme as you want with your lyrical stuff in metal. There's no rules. But it comes with a cost. And people aren't invalid when they say, I'm tired of this crap and I don't want to hear it. When, on Blabbermouth or something, somebody's like, oh, I was into this until he started opening his mouth about this and that. Everybody's like, well, you should shut up. No, he's perfectly valid in his opinion too. Shut your fucking mouth. I'm tired of your crap. I just wanted to hear a song about any topic besides your pontificating about the world condition. Fuck off. And, because so often too, the problem is people cry about it like, oh, well, these blah, blah, blah political persuasion aren't streaming the album because they think it's all about this and that. Yeah. And that's your fault. Don't blame them. It's your fault. It's just like when you get these Hollywood writers that turn out some steaming pile of shit like the all-females Ghostbusters movie or something. It was objectively horrible. And then when people didn't like it, it was, oh, you just didn't want to see a bunch of women in a movie. It was like, you made that choice. But no, it's because your stuff is shit. There's a price that comes with it. Stop crying. That's what everybody it wants to be, is they want to be the great world revolutionary that, takes over the government and does all this stuff, but they want to do it without so much as a bruise and a single word of criticism. They think they should just be allowed to, well, I showed up at the White House and I guess this is mine now, huh? And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. So suck up the criticism. Stop crying about it. Stop crying about people not coming to your shows or pissing on you on the message boards. You open the gate. Life's hard. Buy a helmet. That's it.
Shame you can't mic drop, because that'd be a great ending. All right, I think we set the world straight.
It is our sole job.
Musicians by day, setting the world straight by night.
Yes, it's how they all see themselves.
Oh God, we're feeding into the same shit. Let's not go there.
Yep, exactly. That's why I didn't want to delve too deep. You don't need to listen to my shit either. In any case, I do think it wraps it. Two different sides of it, and I think it was a good discussion. Except for me, there's a delineation. Don't cry when you get the bad press. Do your thing, but at the end of the day, everything comes with a cost. So just make sure it's the one you're willing to pay.
Definitely. Yeah, good conversation. I do want to say I also enjoyed our last one about cover bands. I listened to that one recently and I really enjoyed that one. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to that. Somebody gave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I don't have any Apple devices, so it wouldn't show me what the review was. So thank you to our 5-star viewer. If you have any Apple devices, you can tell me what it says.
I think their name was Rodney and Alfie.
So yeah,
all fun and games. The ratings help for sure, and you can downvote us or upvote us or give us the communist star or a swastika or whatever you want. So. In any case, I think it's going to wrap it for this one. This was good stuff. Hit us up with any comments. Do you feel like that line gets hit with you too much? And it doesn't just have to be politics. It's just ideologies, extreme statements and stuff where somebody just runs their mouth and there's a certain point where you go, I just can't separate the art from the artist. I'd be definitely interested to hear what bands and artists get named under that kind of that umbrella.
Preachy.
Yep. So that's going to wrap it up. As always, I am Rodney Overly Opinionated G. And you can find me on the web at Rodney McG on my base channel. And my partner in political crime is...
I am Alfie Williams, and you will find me mounting my own insurrections at home, sometimes abroad, or sometimes on YouTube at Witchbase. And I'll see you there.
See you on the next one.
Bye.